Alright, we got a little slide gate action going on here. You see, I got my truck unloaded, gate operator on the back, and truck. You've seen a truck before. So we got a slide gate here. Great fence company, L&C Fence here in Dallas. Put it in and to their standard, which they have a very high standard. So I'm going to put in AllOMatic SL100 DC FP. So DC, battery backup, FP, foot pedal, and SL100 is the model. They've got these brushless motors which last forever and a day. And as you can see, the first thing that I did is I put my UL325 signs up. And one little trick with these is you get you a level. I just use these wood screws. They're the thickness of a 1x6 picket. And I just screw them in, no big trick to them. But what I do is I get them where I want left to right and just screw one of them in. And then when I screw that one in, I put the level on top and then get it level, and then I screw the second one in. But I only put 2 in, that's generally more than enough. On the metal gate, you may want to put all 4 in so it doesn't rattle as much. But on a wood gate, that's more than fine. And then as you can see, I got it level left to right and up and down. One of the reasons why I like putting in the signs is because it allows me to put the manual up right away. And one of the things I do with my customers is I take all the manuals and put them in this case, the manual with the gate operator. So now I can put this to the side, and when I'm talking to a customer, I can ask them to write down any numbers or anything they need on there. I have it, and if that's not the case, I can give it to them and they can look at the information while I'm actually putting in the gate operator. So we'll leave that out for the customer if he's interested. And that's what we got today. We got a 20-foot gate, and it's going to be a pretty easy install. Now we'll just put our stand on there where we want it. See the idea. I'll get the gate closed because that's the closest that it's going to be to the gate frame. I'll get it closed, and then I will mark a piece of steel that's coming out here, and then I'll weld the frame to the guide post right here. I'll weld it up there and on the top and then on the back, and that'll make this this pretty strong stand. It's coming off the bottom of that base, which is the least flexible part of the bottom of the guide post. So I think if this is done right, I think we'll be in good shape. What I may do, I thought about actually cutting it right there along this plane right there, and welding it to the inside into this, as opposed to down here on the bottom. That might give me a cleaner look, but it also might be harder to weld. I got the 45 welded and just a basic coat of paint on there right now. I'll let that dry a little bit, and then I'll cut off what I need. But I went ahead and painted it. That way I could get into the angles that I needed without getting paint on the fence or whatever. And then I'll just do touch-up later. Alright, so the stand's not painted, but the welds are done. And I'm happy with that. So we'll go ahead and put my body back on here, my 200 pounds. You can't really tell. I was going to see if you could see it moving, but of course you can't tell it because I'm moving the camera when I'm moving. And then now I'll go ahead and I'll wait till it cools and then paint the welds. So we can put the operator up here. We got our gate operator level there and level there. And I welded a cross member over here to support that back corner. So I'll go ahead and weld all the way down that. That'll be good. And then I've just got a couple of tack weld here, and then I got a tack weld up front and then a tack weld in the back corner over there. And now we'll go ahead and get the chain and chain brackets going and get that set up. Once we get those set up, then we can burn all this in. Got the back chain bracket welded and ready to go. So I got those. I welded it on the back side, welded it on the bottom there, and so welded it on the back as well too. It's in pretty good shape right there. and level wise it's pretty good. So right about there is level. And then I have this little test chain, just like a 6 foot of chain with a chain bolt on the end of it, and that's what I use as to mark it left and right, up and down, as opposed to getting the actual 30-foot chain out. If you just do a little 6 foot chain with the chain bolt on the end of it, it makes it a little bit easier. Got the chain on. See, I've got the front bolt level. I guess you can't see it level, and then left to right. But I think that gives a pretty clear idea. And then we've got that welded as well too. Need to brush it a little bit more. And then you can see we're good left to right, and good up and down on that. And I've got the back one set ready to go. So I'm going to go ahead and finish welding the frame off. I've got to put another 2x2 over here. I didn't compensate for it being a gate operator that has a guidepost on the right hand side, so I had to scoot it over. I added this cross piece to add support, so I'm going to go ahead and finish welding that, and then I'll have to bring another 2x2 square tube out and weld it on there. And that way when you're looking at it from the front, it all looks nice and level like it was meant to, as opposed to hanging over. As you can see, I'm prepping a piece to go on there right now. So I've just taken a piece of flat and welded it to the end of some 2x2, and then I'm going to clean up that edge. Now I'll cut this edge off right here, and that's hot, by the way, and then I'll smooth all of that weld up, and then I'll smooth all of that weld up, and then I'll leave the weld down at the bottom and on the side open, and then I'll paint it and then weld it to the other piece, and then weld the frame to this, and that should make it 100% sturdy. Even though, I mean, I have no problem right now putting 200 pounds on it, and it's not going anywhere. We'll go ahead and finish that up, and I got to do one touch-up paint right here where I forgot to paint the hole that I cut in there, and I'll probably I'll paint that conduit right there, since I already have a little bit of touch-up paint, and that should be it for this. So I'll go ahead. I got my flat disc on here. Go ahead and smooth that out real quick. Let it cool down for a second. And so there's the two sides. This is what's going to mount right here, but I think my length is too long. So anyway, that's going to go right there. Yes, I just need to trim a 1/4 inch off the back. I'll mark that, and then I'll weld this all together right there, so it'll look like one continuous piece, which is the goal. And then as you can see, it'll add more structure, because I'll weld that spot all the way back there. I'll weld that all the way down, weld this up here, and then I'll tack weld right there at that 45, and I'll tack weld at that 45, and that'll give us our standard mount, and that'll look good. All right, so I've got that blended in, smoothed in, and then that edge, so it's seamless. So that whole edge is blended in really well. Get a little bit of touch-up paint on there, and then we welded the frame to this. Back here, welded the frame, and then back in the back, welded the frame to this 2x2. So right now we got a pretty sturdy gate operator and gate operator stand. See, the lines pretty much follow each other. I've got temporary power set up. I've got the radio receiver hooked up. From your right to left, it's power, relay, and then the two on the bottom are common, and then they correspond with the receiver. So from left to right, it's hot, negative, and then common for the relay, and then normally open for the radio input. So I've just got that hanging out temporarily right now until I get the antenna mounted, which is what I'm going to do next. I'm going to drill a hole in the bottom here, right below that strap, and that's where the antenna wire is going to come out. I might do it right above it, we'll see. And then we'll drill a hole up there up top, and that's where the antenna will be. Well, I was talking to the homeowner. I got some of the stuff maintenance just a little bit better, the antenna and all that stuff. And he was talking about possibly adding an annunciator on the closed switch. So I gave him these little double terminal connector so he can make the connector for the transmitter that's going to tell him that the gate operator has moved off the closed limit. When we were doing that, I came over here and I noticed that the relay for the receiver was sticking up like that. You can definitely see that coming through there. So it's probably just a cold solder. So now I've got to replace that, and I've already programmed the keypad in there. So I've got to reprogram the keypad, and then I'll program my remotes in it. But that's how easy it'll be. It'll just be taking those wires off. Thank goodness I use these solderless spade connectors. They make things a whole lot easier. I have the receiver replaced, and the keypad and the remotes are programmed in there. Now I'll just screw this down and then get this cable out of the way. One of the places I like to put it is like that. I got the photo eye mounted, I got the bracket welded on there, and then I've got a strap for the conduit, and that's coming in here. And you can see the black, red, orange, and blue. So we're going to use that as monitor close. Second weird thing that's happened. So now I just have my reflector. second weird thing that's happened on this job. And take a look at the common for the open limit. It's all bent. I bent it back and it fits on there good now. Might have to tighten up the chain just a little bit. Alright, got the chain tight. Let's go ahead and just grab a remote and see how I welded the bolt to the washer. Kind of like doing that, it makes these easier to get on and off. Shorten the chain so that'll affect the open and close limit. Perfect. Now let's close it. Alright, I'm going to go back 2 notches. That's why the limits were that on, because that's where I set the limit. What's the I've got the gate set up to open, stop, close. You gotta be real cautious when you go in between that chain and something that's close to it. So I'm gonna go ahead and close it because I stopped it in the middle. I didn't have to open it up all the way to get this limit set. So, all right, winner, winner, chicken dinner, small little gap. Now let's just test the safety device. Perfect.